Hello, my name is Connor. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite bands, Portishead. I have all three of their albums. I would say that they're all perfect albums. I wouldn't necessarily always be in the mood to listen to them. Um, Especially third. Maybe if I was in the right mood, if I wanted to hear something more experimental or whatever. But I still love it. It's really close to being my favorite, but I feel like Dummy is the designated favorite. It's also storming outside and raining, and I have my window open, so there's gonna be like rain ambiance. Hope you like that. But yeah, like everybody else, I started with this album, their debut album. I think it came out in 1990. I want to say 94. Well, it says 1994 on the thing, so I'm gonna go with that. Super cool inside. I love the matte finish, and then there's like a sleek print. These pictures are like really pixelated, just pictures of stuff. It looks like England to me. You got Beth's face all stretched out in that last one. I really, really love this album, and it was one of those rare occasions where an album that I had no idea going into it that it would sort of inspire a lot of music that I would listen to after, or music that I would seek out after it. And its influence is almost like unobtainable at this point. How many artists have probably taken from Portishead, from this album specifically. This album really introduced me to Massive Attack, which I talked about in my first video. Also Tricky, because he was a sort of collabed with them and was involved with Massive Attack, and I really got into his album that I can't pronounce, but it's like starts with an M. So trip hop is probably one of my favorite genres, and I feel like this might be its magnum opus, if not mezzanine. I see the two maybe on the same level. It depends on the day, I guess. Some of my favorite songs ever are on this album. I think Strangers might be top 10 songs I've ever heard. I feel like the first time I heard this song, I was really like taken aback by how by what I was hearing, because I expected one thing when I heard Mysterions, and I thought it was going to be that direction the whole time, and it kind of is with in some moments, but I think this album does a really great deal of giving you diversity with cohesion and making the style sound so fresh and just cool, but whatever. And then Sour Times really threw me for a loop because it's way more accessible. I probably have heard it somewhere before online because it was instantly recognizable. That and Glory Box. But Strangers, I instantly knew that was gonna be my new like obsession. I also watched the live performance of Strangers in Roseland, New York. I don't know what year it was, but incredible performance. They performed with an orchestra. The way that they sort of choreographed everything was just so cool. And yeah, Beth Gibbons is one of my favorite vocalists. She captures such a specific longing and mourning sort of tone to her voice that I don't think a lot of people have the ability to do, and she makes it sound amazing. I've never heard someone sound like they were crying singing out. Maybe a few times, but not as good as her. This cover is iconic. She's sitting in like an electric chair almost. I think some of the lyrics on this album are also like really stuck with me over time, especially Roads. I think Roads really battles Strangers for the favorite song because it is sort of, I think, the pinnacle of what makes this album so good is the deep like just emotional impact that these songs have. It's very bleak. It's very dense, in my opinion. I think some of the production really buries you as you listen to it, and I love that. But yeah, I could get really, really lost with this album. And I think still today it sounds incredibly fresh. I already said that. But yeah, I will continue to listen to it, and it'll probably be in my top 5, top 10 albums until the day I die. And their next album, their self-titled album, Portishead, which I think has their best cover, actually. I think there's something really eerie about this vibe. There's a lot of P on the cover. P, 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 P. This one doesn't open. But yeah, this is one of their more, I guess, it's still like a great album, but I don't think it's regarded as their best work. But I think it does have some of their best songs, like the intro song Cowboys, I think is one of their most just like massive, really terrifying songs. There's something really, really creepy about that sort of growing, that constant growing of like horn sections and the orchestral vibe or whatever. And her voice on this album is way different. Her approach to the vocals than the debut album. She has much more of a high sort of tinny like sound to her voice, especially on, I don't know how to say this word, Elysium, I don't know, and 7 Months. 7 Months for a while was one of my favorite, but now I think it's over Western Eyes and more Humming. I think Humming's really good. The live version is great. I think it's also on the Rosalind, New York live album. Yeah, this album, I guess I don't have much to say about it because it definitely didn't have the impact that Dummy had on me, but there is a lot of more, I would say, fleshed out songs than Dummy. Like, I think that the quality of this album is still on par with Dummy, but it doesn't have that sort of initial, like, click. Like, this album definitely took me a few listens to really adjust to the more eerie and, I guess, suffocating sound. Little did I know what I was getting myself into when I got into their third album, But yeah, I think all the songs are done, it says here, with the Nick Ingman Orchestra. And yeah, all tracks written by Jeff, Beth, and Adrian. I love the noir vibe of this album. Obviously, it's like black and white, super eerie guy just standing there. He's a little too close. Wow, I really don't have a lot to say. I actually do really like this album, though. I put it on like a really rainy day if I'm driving and I want to like vibe out to some creepy music. I know that doesn't sound appealing, but the music videos are also really cool. This is the music video for, I want to say All Mine. I might be wrong. But yeah, again, their song Cowboys, I have to bring it up. Like, there is a very, like, just creeping and crawling, like, feeling of being watched or observed by someone of like a dangerous sort of disposition, or like some greater force that has like all the power over you and you're just like submitting to it. Humming has this really slow sort of head nodding like beat or whatever, but it really starts to sink into your nerves, in my opinion, after like the 3-minute mark. Because it's a 6-minute song. I'm looking at it now. The live version's even longer, but Still a great song. And Western Eyes, I think, was a really great way to end the album. I wasn't in love with it at first, but the piano and sort of the way the beat comes in and then just trails off, like, it really takes everything from you and leaves you with nothing. So if you want to feel empty and sad and like you're being watched, listen to this album. It is so good. Speaking of terrifying, their last album, Third, got a big ol' P on it. Super cool inside of it. Love that, how that looks. These like towers. The back is also really cool. It's like pictures of the band, I think, but just like glitched out. I think that's, Jeff or whatever. Adrian, Beth. I wasn't sure about this cover. That's kind of what turned me off from this album in the first place, because it's, again, very different from their albums, how they look initially. Because when you look at these two covers, the first ones, you really do get a vibe. And I feel like this one is very ambiguous. Like, you're not really sure, like, okay, 3P, like, it's Portishead's third album called Third. Like, how could it be so good? And at first, I really believed that this album was not good. But at the time, I was really, really growing my taste. And I did I kept finding myself going back to this album in the hopes that I would like it. But I didn't want to force myself to like it. But thank God, it just eventually happened, and now I'm obsessed with it. It really is just like a holistic experience of progressive, just haunting electronic music combined with like sort of like a rock vibe, rock edge. It's extremely lo-fi even compared to Dummy, but I think that the mixing on the album is very interesting, especially when you listen to it all the way through. It is just like one big tortured, stretched out song. The song that I like the most would probably be Machine Gun, but I think that's a lot of people's favorite. I just really wasn't expecting it after, I think Deep Water is the like little ukulele interlude, which I still don't like, but I this is still a perfect album. Like, it's barely a minute, whatever. The Rip is also, I listen to that one a lot. Threads, Silence, Hunter, like, these are all just like insane songs. And I'm not really sure actually how well this album did or how well it was received at the time. It's held in high regards online from what I can see, but I really want to know what the initial reaction was of people when they dropped this after years of not dropping anything, because it's a very visceral experience. This album, I would say, is like the vibe of their second album if you ran it through like a dial-up modem and then cast like a satanic spell on it. There's something in this album that really freaks me out. It's very it's almost like you're searching with your hand through like digital like sounds and stuff, and you're just like reaching and pulling different genres from radio stations and just like splicing them together. And when you listen to it all in one go, it really really creates this formative experience that I didn't get at first. I think I made it to like Nylon Smile and The Rip, and I would stop listening to it because I was just like really not into the vibe. But sometimes music will just find me at the right time and really change my sort of initial thoughts about it. And this probably is one of the slowest growing albums on me, but it's close to being my favorite of theirs. I would almost put it over Dummy if Dummy didn't have such the iconic impact that it did and the amazing track list that it has. I think the impact of these two albums might pale in comparison, but I do know of Machine Gun, I think was sampled by The Weeknd I don't think it was okay though, but whatever. Was sampled by The Weeknd. I forget what song, and I think it was also sampled by Kanye West. So don't go listening for it because Kanye West is a horrible person. So, anyways, Portishead is really good. You should listen to their discography. These are just some of my favorite albums. If you really just want to expand your interest and taste in music, I think it would be really fun to sort of challenge yourself with Portishead's discography because they have a lot to offer and it's just really cool music. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. Bye.